Hey Connie, let's take a look at this week 2 assignment 2 drawing. Both drawings are solid drawings. I think marker usage, dealing with the composition, shading, lighting, and texture work, they all are doing a great job. And I think when we do run into issues, they're very minor issues, and I think easily kind of worked with and corrected. But for me, there's a lot of successes going on here. You've got a good full value range in place from highlight to darker shadow tones. You're dealing with the background. The marker feels good in, I would say, almost all cases, other than maybe a few things going on in the background where it feels like it's bleeding a little bit, and having, I think, some odd, I'm not sure exactly what's kind of going on in a few of the areas. They don't take away from the drawing as a whole, but they're definitely kind of instances where I kind of glance at them and kind of wonder what's happening with them. But when you're looking at the objects themselves, there's great technique. It's very even, smooth, consistent coverage, and you're doing a great job of making these shapes feel very three-dimensional. I think some of the shapes could use a little bit more transition as you move from one value to the next, whether that's maybe adding just one extra layer of a value that's in between the two, or maybe it's just kind of working with a very light amount of colored pencil to help ease in that transition with the gradient. Or if you have a colorless blender, just kind of blending the two together a little bit as you still have them being a little bit wet can help to create something that doesn't feel quite as segmented. I think the sphere does a great job of going from one value to the next, but I think the other ones, the cone especially, just makes too quick of a transition and could be just a little bit more even, but even the cylinder, a little bit of that as well. Cast shadow wise, it looks good. I think the only one, I guess you were mentioning it in your post, the cube could use just a little bit of a cast shadow kind of here, as well as down here. It could use just a little bit more of a cast shadow here, and that's probably all you really need. The rest of them feel like they're working out well. The textures themselves all feel good. I think the only one for me that could use a little bit more work is the wood one, which I think still feels a little bit too simplified, and I think the grain tends to just feel a little bit too bulky. I think maybe because of the marker, and we're definitely seeing some bleeding issues within that as well, especially on kind of this kind of backside. I think using colored pencil tends to work a little bit more effectively for the grain than the marker, because you can control how dark you want it to be, and it's very linear based, so it's not. I think where colored pencil becomes a challenge is when you have a large area to cover or a gradient, but I think if it's just line work, colored pencil can very easily integrate in with the marker drawing. But the other ones feel very good. I think the metallic ones are terrific. The stone one feels excellent as well. I love the little flecks of white that still show up in the shadow tone, and dealing with the entirety of the composition, the ground plane, the background, and that sort of stuff feels very good. So I'd be happy with this. I think you've gotten kind of this good, solid handle on the markers where it feels like you're just starting to get it to do what you want it to do. It doesn't feel like you're doing anything that's gonna kind of put you in an adverse situation. It feels like you're just kind of playing it fairly safe and confidently, and I think that's a good place to be right now. I think that other than tweaking a few textures and getting a little bit more kind of consistency with some of these areas, I think you're well on your way to getting that next assignment done extremely well.